Enculturation. What we are today is because of the enculturation. As we grow, we adapt to our surroundings and learn from it. And then we behave and act accordingly. We observe our elders. When they do something, we also do it. So we observe and imitate. Every child learns his own culture as he grows in it. So, in a way, we can say that our whole life is a process of enculturation. Growing up in any culture, all humans go through the process of enculturation. This process is the way in which we obtain and transmit culture. Before going to the details, please remember to subscribe the channel. Thank you. Definition of enculturation. It is a process beginning in early childhood by which particular cultural values, ideas, beliefs and behavioral patterns are instilled or established in the members of a society. So, the enculturation, it starts from the childhood, and in which culture we are, the value, the idea, belief and the behavioral patterns of that culture, we learn it from the members of the society. Enculturation refers to the process through which we learn about the culture we live in. So we are born into a culture, and through the process of enculturation, we learn about the culture. We learn behavior, values, language and morals that are acceptable in our society. We learn this by observing other members of our society. This includes our parents, friends, teachers and mentors. The enculturation process provides a means for us to become functional members of our society. Enculturation is how we attain our cultural values and understand the norms of our culture. It is an important process because if we want to be a successful member of the society, we need to understand and abide by the cultural norms. So every culture has its own norms. So we need to abide by the norms. Then we become a functional and successful member of that culture. The parents who are teaching their kids to do prayers, they are doing the process of enculturation. They are enculturating the kids with the faith in God. Another example is a child learning a good habit of not stealing anything from anyone in school. This process is also an enculturation. So we attain cultural value. How do we acquire the culture? Let's see. Much of the culture is acquired out of consciousness. We don't need to consciously put effort to acquire the culture. It happens out of our consciousness, much of the process. The language is the primary means of communication. It is one of the most important components of the enculturation process. And because cultural information is encoded in language, children acquire knowledge about their society through verbal interaction with adults. So, as a human being, we all communicate with each other. And through the process of communication, the children acquire knowledge about their society. Then children begin to learn the social rules of behavior as they interact with other members of their society. Children also learn about the concept of status and roles with which they must be familiar. Then children learn gender roles. Other aspects taught are attitudes, feelings, and emotions of the culture. The display of affection are regarded differently depending on the social background. Less obvious mechanisms of enculturation include learning about one's culture from the media, the information environment, and various social technologies, which can lead to cultural adaptation and transmission across societies. So, we acquire culture through communicating with others, through interacting with others, and some are we learn from observation. Then some of the values, attitude, etc. are taught to us. Then the media, the social technologies, the information environment, etc. also help in acquiring our culture. The primary enculturation agents are parents and caretaker. Enculturation agents are individuals and institutions that serve a role in shaping individual adaptations to a specific culture to better ensure growth and effectiveness. Parents and caretakers are a primary enculturation agent for the child. The characteristics of enculturation. It teaches the individual their role within societies as well as what is accepted behavior within that society and lifestyle. It is the process of learning our own culture. Enculturation is adaptive and it helps us to survive and thrive in our culture. It ensures the continuity of cultural practices from one generation to another. How? Through vertical cultural transmission from parents to children, as well as horizontal cultural transmission carried out through siblings and friends. You learn new things in new ways, and as you begin to practice what you learn. Enculturation is learned through speech, gestures, and words. Students are learning by example from their teacher and their fellow students. For example, things like how to dress in a particular culture or how to speak, etc. So these are the characteristics of enculturation. It teaches the individual their role within society, then how to behave in a society, and what is the culture. It allows to learn our own culture. It is adaptive and it helps us to survive. And it ensures cultural transmission from one generation to another generation and from uh, persons to their siblings or to the friends. Now let's have a quick recap on what we have learned about enculturation. We have seen the definition, how we acquire a culture through the process of enculturation, and the characteristics of enculturation. Enculturation is first a culture learning process where a person understands and internalizes the native culture. It makes an individual aware of his role, position, and functions in society. Hope you like this video. Please subscribe and share. Thank you and keep smiling.